There is a lot in the readings this weekend about optimism, from Baruch, whose words are echoed in Isaiah, whose words are echoed in the gospel, about what can come, what will come, and the beauty of things to come and to believe in something, but with a caution, it won't be quite like we expect. And it reminds me of a story I'll share with you. I think I did once before, but it's worth repeating, about optimism and the need to be realistic about it. So this story has to do with the greatest sport in the world, which happens to be baseball, clearly, okay? So this little guy is told by his coach, you really have to believe in your ability. I think one of the difficulties you have with batting is you don't believe in your own ability, so you keep struggling with it. So keep practicing, but believe. Okay. So the little guy throws the ball in the air and he swings and he misses. Well, I'm the greatest batter in the world. I really am. So he throws a ball in the air and he swings and he misses. I'm really the greatest batter in the world. He throws a ball in the air, he swings and he misses. And he says, I'm the greatest pitcher in the world. Okay. Might be exaggerating his optimism a bit, but the optimism was there. And that's true in all of these readings. So the prophet Baruch originally is sort of like the writer, secretary, if you will, for the prophet Jeremiah. But his school of theology, if you will, material, doesn't really get put together until many centuries later, probably 150 years or so before the time of Jesus. So it's a lot later than Baruch lived. And then Isaiah the prophet, the same thing. It's his school of material, Isaiah's school of theology, if you will, gets put together later in a form that we have it today. Baruch is seeing a time when the rough ways will be made smooth, the ways to God. And it seems impossible. And he uses the image of traveling, that the valleys will be filled and the mountains laid low. I think many of us in our world don't particularly like that image because we like mountains and canyons and things, okay? But imagine traveling in their world, walking, and you get to a big canyon. Well, you're not in a car zooming over a bridge. You've got all that difficult hiking down and all the difficult hiking back up. Driving to Flagstaff is 2 hours for us. It took days 120 years ago because it was really tough. Or imagine going up to Payson. Now on the Beeline Highway, there's that section where it's really rocky. Well, try walking over those rocks. That's hard. That's a rough way. And you'd be really happy if it were made smooth. And it will be that way for people to come into the loving embrace of God, says the prophet Baruch. And Isaiah, too, in chapter 40, some of it is quoted in the gospel today, but let me read you a little bit more of chapter 40. A voice cries out, in the desert, prepare the way of the Lord. Does that sound like the gospel? It should. That's where it came from, Isaiah. Make straight in the wasteland a highway for our God. Every valley shall be filled in, every mountain and hill shall be made low, the rugged land shall be made a plain, the rough country a broad valley. Then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed. This all sounds like Baruch as well. And here's the catcher with Isaiah. And all mankind shall see it together. Remember, not just the chosen people. All mankind. Isaiah always has this expansive look at the glory of the God of Israel, that it is for his people, yes, but it's also for everyone. It's a way to come in, not a way to be blocked. Religion shouldn't be used to block. It should be inviting in. And this is what Isaiah preaches on. This is what Baruch preached on. This is what John the Baptist preached on. He's coming out of the tradition of the prophets. But at the same time, he's telling them it will be different. And St. Paul knows that very well in his letter today. Paul's setting, you might think he's under a nice, fig tree sipping a glass of wine or something writing this. This document is written from prison. Oh, how could he write that? In an ancient Roman prison, how could he compose that? But that's what he did. He sees the possibility here of all of humanity being caught up in the glory of God by choosing the good, choosing the way of Christ. Paul understands freedom as a choice to do the good. Our culture understands freedom as a choice, period. It's a mistake. Freedom is not simply choice. If you do not choose the good, you are never free, despite how it might look. For example, I don't want to go to school today. Freedom means I can choose not to go to school. Well, if you don't go to school and you don't learn much, you're never going to be free. Learning is an element of freedom. And there's something you have to do to gain the freedom. Freedom is not simply choice. In our Franciscan tradition especially, that's very strong. We find freedom by choosing the good, not by simply choosing. Sisters and brothers, today the challenge is recognizing the coming of the Lord, that the rough ways will be made smooth, the valleys will be filled in, the mountains brought low. People, all people, will be able to get there. And how do we then, as the body of Christ in the world today, on this second Sunday of Advent, and during this next week, how will you make that real for people? Not just a nice concept. How will you make it real? Not so easy to decide. But this is a time for decision, because the coming of the Lord is going to happen. That's what Advent is about. Remember the day of the coming of the Lord. It will happen, and it won't bring exactly what we expect. But we can have definite optimism because he will be with us and lead us. And that's a beautiful thing to remember as we prepare for the great feast of Christmas.